Nicola Giuliano.
David Lang.
Paolo, you dedicated the film to the acclaimed Italian director Francesco Rosi, and you had a relationship with him, a mentor relationship with him. I'm just wondering, the inspiration to the film and why you decided to honor, Francesco Rossi.
Yeah, I had a good relationship with him. We were friends. And unfortunately, he died before I finished the movie. And for many Italian directors, he was a reference for the kind of cinema that he did, and also for me. And in addition to this, one night before writing this movie, I went at his house at a dinner. There was an old friend with him. They were about 80, and they started to argue about a girlfriend that they had 75 years before. So I stole this fact and I put in the movie.
Yeah. And Nicola, you have worked with Paolo for many years. And what was it like accomplishing this latest film with this international cast, and the film deals with art, with youth, with time. I just wonder, how did it feel, you collaborating with Paolo and the themes and the international cast?
Yeah, we know each other 20 years that we know each other, and we started to work together in 2000, 98 we did a short film. He did the short film that I produced, and so it's a long trip we did together. And after The Great Beauty, Paolo told me he wanted to do a film, a little film, and with two old actors, two old characters, and then he decided to try to hire Michael Caine. And I have to say that we're supposed to have a hard work to do in terms of having this incredible cast. I have to say that Michael Caine immediately said yes. It was before the Oscar to The Great Beauty. We met him in London, having lunch in October. It was October, and he immediately said yes. And then I have to say that during the long trip we did in the US for the Great Beauty, we had the chance to meet so many actors. We met Rachel Weisz in New York. We had a coffee together with her, and Paolo told her the story of the film, and she read the script and immediately said yes. And same happened to Jane Fonda, that we met during a party for a Weinstein movie, and Paolo had in mind to send her the script, and she immediately said yes. The same happened with Paul Dano and Harvey. I have to say, we thought it was so difficult to have this kind of cast. I have to say that probably they loved Paolo movies, Paolo work, Paolo visions, and that they trust him to be lead in the story. And for me, it was hard to deal with the agents, of course, but at the end, the film tells that we worked out.
David, you composed, this is the first time you composed for a film correctly?
It's the first time I've done such a big film as the composer. I've done a few littler things, but this is the most exciting one that I've done.
And Paolo requested you had to compose all the music even before, filming. Can you tell us, that experience and and the reason for that?
Well, I think one of the really beautiful things about this film is that Paolo imagined a movie in which the music would actually be a character. The music would have the ability to really tell you narrative things. It wouldn't be just accompaniment. It would be something where the music was really needed in order to get into the mind of the character and show you the journey that he goes on from start to finish. and that everything would lead up in this incredible song that's been spoken about for the entire movie. So music was so important in Paolo's imagination for this, that the music had to be written before the script could really be finished, before the shots could be made and the actors could be coached. And so it was a very exciting and interesting problem to solve. How do you make music for a film that doesn't exist? Because usually you make music for a film and then the film is finished and you are responding to the visuals and to the acting and the editing, and you're just trying to help everyone do their thing. But this was actually such a powerful and important and necessary role for music, that the music had to be done before anything else could be.
Yeah. And Paolo, one of the, there are many, many things in this movie that resonate with all of us, but the one thing that I get out of your film that I found so inspiring, the notion that without the future, how can one be young? And I just wonder if you could, talk a little bit about that.
Yes, the idea is that youth and freedom in my mind are the same thing, and so regardless of your age, if you think at the future in terms of the freedom, you can be young, if you have a perception of the freedom tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's I don't know if it's an idea or it's an hope. Maybe it's more my hope, that a real idea. Mm-hmm. And this thing I tried to tell inside the movie.
Yeah. And you've worked with terrific cast before, international cast. But what was it like working with Michael Caine, Harvey Keitel, Paul Dano, Rachel Weisz, and the incomparable Jane Fonda? What was it like for you to be working with this incredible cast?
Very exciting and easy. With great actors, everything is very easy. So I was really relaxed, and yes, they were able to do everything without me. So they were, and so I dedicated mostly to the shots, because the actors went alone. They were able to do everything without asking me. So only when they exaggerated, I told them something. But it was very, very exciting. They are great actors and great human beings. Yeah.
And earlier we talked to Michael Caine, and we talked about the fact that you wrote the part of Fred specifically for him. Can you talk about why Michael Caine, and why did you write the role for him?
Because in my mind the character was a right balance of authority and levity, and the only actor that in my mind is able to communicate this balance between authority and levity is Michael Caine, of that generation. I haven't other names for that role. Yeah. So if he refused, probably I give up to do the movie. I had in my mind an hotel with the two characteristics, the rooms and the restaurant old and the spa new, and because I saw that kind of hotel, but in Italy, but one hotel that was in my mind, it was not available, and then I didn't find other hotels in Italy with this kind of characteristics. So I found in Switzerland after a long research. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Paolo was involved with the selection of Sumi Joe to sing the final number. So Sumi Joe is actually a named character in the script. So from the very early discussions about who would sing this song, Sumi Joe was the character. I didn't really have any musical inspirations. I had musical goals for it. I sort of know the range of all the over-the-top, super expressive, very emotional music. So Mahler is actually someone who is not far from my mind most of the time. So I wasn't really thinking of channeling it, but maybe that's what I did. And maybe subconsciously I associated Mahler with the location of Switzerland also, but you know, I really wasn't trying to imagine that it was a particular kind of music. I really was just trying to do something that would have the most emotional resonance. So something that would start simply and gradually and gracefully and lead you kind of inexorably someplace that would be emotional.
And
So that was sort of my goal.
Songs? Have you written songs? Is this one of the things?
Yeah, I've written a lot of vocal music, so mostly in an opera context, actually. So, which if in my secret heart, I am an opera composer. So, so that's sort of I tried to channel all of my my opera love into this part and into the scoring of the whole film, actually.
My intuition brought me to choose her. I selected some important singers, and I trust her. Yeah. I don't know why I choose her.
You know, I really want to have as much fun as possible. And it's hard to have as much fun as you can in life if you only do the same thing over again, you know? And the weird thing about having a career, I think, is very quickly you learn there's some things I can do and I can get credit for them, and it's actually okay with the world if I never do anything else other than that ever for the rest of my life, you know? And I'm sure that there are many people who are happy living like that, but for some reason, I feel like I want to do interesting and strange things. And one of those interesting and strange things actually has to do with collaboration. You know, so I do a lot of collaboration with other people because when you work with someone else, there's someone else's needs or someone else's problems or someone else's ideas that have to be worked out. And through working those things out, I find something in myself that I wouldn't have been able to find without them. This is actually a project that falls into that category. You know, there are things that I did on this film that I think Paolo knew I could do that I didn't know I could do. If Paolo knew how little I knew how to do this, I'm sure he would not have asked me to do this. But actually, it was an incredible opportunity for me to grow, and I'm really happy I had it. You know, oddly, the most difficult thing for me in this entire movie was that it seems like the entire narrative hinges on this song being emotional, on this song being something that can break your heart right in front of you, you know. This is very much not the way I usually write music. You know, usually the way I write music is, I write music which is a little more subtle, and I think, I want to break your heart, but I'm really happy if the way I break your heart is, oh, like a month later, you wake up in the middle of the night and you go, wait a second, that's amazing, you know. A film can't do that, you know. A film happens in front of you and it has to be solved in front of you, and it has to be that level of passion and commitment right in front of you. And I kept sending these demos to Paolo, and Paolo kept, you know, writing me back saying, oh, I am crying a little, but I need to cry a lot. And you know, the strange thing is that's what it needs to do for the film. That's what the character needs and what the narrative needs and what the story needs. But for me, that's something that I shy away from as a composer. It's something that I don't always do, you know, that I don't try to do. So for me, that was a really great challenge for myself.
I am pretty sure that cinema and television are not in competition with each other. I think that they are two different things. Cinema is the father, and the kind of television that we do now is the son. So the son now is more beautiful because he's younger. And, but we can't give up as the father. So I don't think that one thing is against the other one. It's only a big opportunity for us, above all, but also for the audience to play with the father and with the son at the same time. Yeah. Yes. It's, I have many ideas of movies that once the critics called the Kammerspiel films inside a room, inside an house, inside a location, and I like that kind of challenge. Yes. So it was from the first moment this idea. Yes.
Paolo, the camera work in the film is very simple, very elegant, but it strikes me the opening scene it sets the tone for the rest of the film. Can you talk about that opening moment with the singer and the circular camera around it?
Actually, it was an idea of the editing, because that scene was in the middle of the movie, and but as always happened, I love so much the song that the singer sings that I decided to open the movie with that song. It's just una questione di gusto, come si dice?
It's just a matter of taste.
Yes, a matter of taste. I think it's no, I don't know if it's a metaphor. It's a real thing, sad real thing. Michael Caine can't help that girl. Yes, but of course it's also a metaphor. Yes. The influences of other filmmakers, there are for sure, but because I know that there are some movies that I have seen many times and other movies that I haven't seen at all. So, but I am not able to recognize the influences when I work. When I work, I have always the feeling that I am inventing for the first time, I think, but I know that's not true, of course. So the influences are not so conscious like the people believe.
But no names?
Yeah, but they are always the same. Fellini, Scorsese are the most important two names that influenced me. Yes. No, I am sorry, I haven't a memorable moment. There are many memorable evenings, nights that we spend together, and yes, there are some scenes very intense that we did, like the scene between Michael and Rachel on the two beds when there is a long monologue of Rachel, or the scene between Jane Fonda and Harvey Keitel was very strong and intense for us and for them to shoot. Yes, that's it. But unfortunately, I forget the anecdotes. I know that the anecdote happened, but I forget always. Yeah. I am sorry. I don't know. I haven't. I don't check so well all the things to give an answer to that. And if I don't know, you don't know. During the scouting location, I do many pictures. Then I see again the pictures, and between pictures I find the future shots that I will do, in part. Then when arrive the actors, I invent other shots. But the location helped me a lot. And of course the faces of the actors and of the extras. Yes. Now, at the beginning in the script there wasn't a Paloma Fate, but there was the character was the secretary of the husband of Rachel Weisz, and the secretary was a woman around 50 years old, very anonymous. But I looked for a long time that actress, and I didn't find her. And one day my wife says to me to see, for other reasons, a video clip of Paloma Faith, and I thought she was perfect for the role. So I changed the script for her, and then I found out that she was a great fan of The Great Beauty. She had done a video clip inspired by The Great Beauty, so I understood that it was the right choice. We had a good relationship. She's very funny and very open-minded to do whatever somebody asks, and this is a paradise for a director, that you can ask whatever you want and she does, yes.
So you think you have a future in rock videos?
Me?
Yeah.
No,
It was wonderful.
they don't pay enough. They don't pay enough. No, maybe I am very close to the Harvey Keitel's character, but I would love to become like Michael Caine.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here, and thank you
Thank
to
you very
Paolo
much.
and David and Nicola.